Hi there, this is Cheryl from Prima Yoga. So we had a really lovely question, what I put out into the community. Hi there, this is Cheryl Wimperis from Prima Yoga. So to answer one of your questions that came in last month. So the question was, how can our breathing help us in our everyday life to overcome difficulties, anxiety? Now, this is really why we're learning the tools on the mat. We're learning various breathing techniques like Anulom Vilom, like box breathing, Ujjayi breathing, humming at the end. And these are all to prepare you and so that you can practices that you can use in your everyday life. And this is really what yoga is about, just taking what you learn on the mat, what you discover, the sensations you feel, and applying them in your real life. So the beautiful thing about your breath is you can manipulate your breathing. It is the one system in the body that works automatically. So for example, when we're sleeping, the body breathes. We don't have to think about it. We just breathe. The body is doing the work for us. And then we also have the choice to be very conscious about our breathing and to choose how we use our breath. So that could mean changing the pattern of our breathing. For example, box breathing, nice big breath in, hold at the top, notice the breath at the top, and then a breath out. And notice the pause at the bottom. And this really slows our pattern of breathing down. So what that's doing is telling our nervous system that we're safe. It's activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the cooling side of the nervous system. So it rebalances, it keeps the nervous system balanced and in harmony. So we're not constantly in a state of fight and flight. Now, in our everyday lives, we are completely bombarded and overstimulated by so much information, so much things that we have to do, busy lives, lots of roles, responsibilities. So it's really easy, like we all have this, I have this, we can get overwhelmed very quickly and very easily. So that kicks the nervous system into our fight and flight response, which heightens cortisol, heightens the stress response in the body. And if that isn't balanced with parasympathetic work, then our bodies are living in this chronic state of stress, which over time can create illness and disease. So we want to try and manage how we keep our body in what we call homeostasis, in balance. Because obviously the cortisol hormone is really good for us to get moving, to get active, to do that presentation really well. You know, it makes us sweat, it makes us breathe a little bit more sharply. But we're going into action, we're getting into action. We need to get something done. We're not really running from bears anymore, but we still have to respond and move into action in life. But we don't want the nervous system to stay in that space for too long. So it helps us regulate our system. We need to actively practice calming the body down, calming the system down with practices like yoga nidra, with meditation, and with breath work. So if you are in a situation in your everyday life where you're feeling stressed, maybe something's going on at home, you know, the children are loud, and you just notice that you're shouting a lot, you're responding really quickly. So in those moments, what our practice on the mat can teach us is to observe our breath. First of all, before we think about anything else, the practice on the mat helps us observe our breath. And when we observe our breath, we notice the body that works with the breath. We inhale and the body expands, and we exhale and the body releases. Now, once we start noticing that and capturing that, it makes us become very present. We're not responding to something. We're not just shouting at something. We're not automatically responding. What we're doing is we're bringing our awareness into us, inside. We're noticing our body. We're noticing our breath. And this practice of noticing is the fastest way to calm the mind, to notice your breath and your body connection. So if you are developing that practice on your mat, take this into your everyday life. Like as you're doing the washing up, do the washing up, but just then notice your breath. You know, if you're thinking, oh my God, I hate doing the washing up, this is what I think a lot. just take a moment to notice your breath in your body. And all of a sudden, you'll drop those thoughts of, oh my God, I hate the washing up. And you'll just become very present. And it's getting attached to those thoughts and those patterns of thinking that creates the heaviness. It creates the patterns of behavior where we then start practicing anxiety. We feel stressed because we're really thinking these thoughts and we're getting involved with these thoughts. But when you can just pause for a moment and come back to your breath and your body connection, you can't think those thoughts because your awareness is focused on your breath and body connection, and it's making you quieten those waves, those crashing thoughts, those bombarding thoughts, those anxiety thoughts. So the power to pause and notice your breath and body will absolutely change so much in your life the more you practice it. And that is the first thing that you want to be practicing off of the mat, just noticing your breath in your body, and it will make you become very present. And you can't think of the other stuff when you're thinking about and noticing your breath in your body. So it's a really good anchoring tool. When you find your mind is starting to spiral and you are becoming the spiral, a way out of that is, it might not be breathing. Breathing might not be the thing you need. You might need to shake off the energy of anxiety and just jump around, just dance, just shake your hands. Or if it feels right for you, come back to your breath. Maybe do a child's pose on the floor, or maybe do some gardening where you are a little bit distracted, but you're thinking about your breath and your body connection. You are very present on the activity that you are doing. It will draw your attention away from the mind stuff and back into your body. So you move out of your headspace, which is where we often get stuck when we're in those states of anxiety, and it brings you back into your body. And that somatic experience is what, over time, when you practice this off the mat in your everyday life, it's that will really create a chain reaction of healing, of improving yourself, of noticing how you're being, noticing when you want to shout, when you want to respond. Whereas actually, if I just pause for a moment and widen that gap between me experiencing something and then responding, if I start to widen that gap by just noticing myself and how I feel and my breath and my body, it will really change the patterns of behavior that we are running on automatically, the samskara, those patterns of thinking and habits that are running the show. And very often we're not aware of them. So how do we apply breath work in our everyday life to help us? It starts by noticing. It starts by practicing what you practice on the mat of breathing. Breathing in, feel the body expand. Breathing out, feel the body release. Practicing that whilst you're going about your everyday life, and just notice what happens. Now, if you want some help with this, I have a really powerful breathing and meditation program that takes you through that process, step by step, how to observe yourself, how to break the patterns of behavior that are no longer serving us. If you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed and anxious, these are the practices that are really going to help you move out of that space so that you can start feeling alive and happy and content again. So feel free to just click the link below for the clarity course and just have a little look. You'll get a free sample, a couple of days free, just so you can explore and get a feel for it. But it all starts with practicing, noticing your breath on the mat first, and allowing that practice of noticing your breath and your body connection, let it expand off of the mat whilst you're going about your day-to-day life. That's when the real change, that's when the real yoga starts to work.